Lead from Within. With me today, Sharon Grove, Love Grove, and Rachel G. Rachel G, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, so as you said, I'm Rachel G. I'm the self growth coach, and I love to also speak and teach on the importance of really getting to know yourself on a deeper level and to really nourish a loving, authentic relationship with oneself so that you can really truly love your life. Now, as a result of working with me, people will feel first, think second, and act third. They develop unconditional self acceptance and they manifest more joy into their life. And I work with spiritually minded and creative women who have been through a painful transition from a relationship or a career or a family member, and they're now ready to create a more whole and emotionally balanced life for themselves, which we do through embracing and allowing emotions, nurturing compassion, confidence, and purpose, and aligning with authentic expression. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rachel. Sharon, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, I'm Sharon Lovegrove, and I help professional women with the imposter syndrome who are stressed, overwhelmed, and depleted because they're so busy trying to hide they're not perfect. So they're busy trying to be. So I help them to reclaim back their power and take back control, reset their mindset so that it works for them, and begin to start their living their life joyously as their perfect, imperfect self. So yeah, women that come and see me, most of them happen to be people that have struggled lots of their life and mainly been very high achievers and have moved very much into a kind of a masculine paradigm where we're always looking at what's external to us rather than what's internal. I know that Rachel, you do a lot of work too in the same kind of field, really. But what we do is, again, a lot of the stuff is really working from the inside out because you can only change if you know and love and accept yourself first and you're willing and then to bring that itself out so that you can fulfill your purpose here on this earth. And yes, to live life joyously, it's meant to be fun, it's meant to be good, it's meant to be happy, it's not meant to be painful. So yeah, that's what we do. So most of the women that are there, they learn how to manage their mental state, manage their emotions, and to self-regulate and go forward in joy and hope.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shireen. So, our topic today is don't just go through life's transitions, um, grow from them. So, basically, change in life is inevitable and life is full of transition. Sometimes it can be a positive change, sometimes it can be a negative change. Like in 2020, the world didn't plan to go on lockdown, and there was a transition that we found ourselves being on lockdown, and the world was silence. If you had to go outside, there was no one because we're basically we were being controlled, being told this is what we can do, this is what we can to prevent the disease being transmitted to everyone. So I'm going to let Rachel basically explain the topic because she chose this topic, and I believe there is a passion behind the topic. Rachel, if you can explain to our audience about this topic, what it means to you, I think they'll love to hear that. Over to you.
Thank you. Well, firstly, I mean, one thing all humans have in common is we will all experience change and we will always go through some form of transition because of that change. Um, I think it's important just to clarify that change is something that is situational. So it's like the breakup of a job, it's the death of a friend, it's a breakup of a relationship, giving birth, having a new baby, whereas the transition is a much more psychological process because it's what we're internalizing and it's something that we need to come through or go through to get to an acceptance of whatever this new situation is. And for some of us, and depending on what it is, it can be quite quick that we probably wouldn't even really acknowledge that we've been through a transition. And for other things on the other end of the spectrum, it can be really, take us a very long time, because it was something that we've classified as not wanted, it was unplanned, it was uncomfortable, etc., etc. For me, there are three I can't get my words out, three phases. And the first part is the leaving phase. And so that's, really the closing of a chapter and the letting go of the past and our past identity, because there is an identity that we are attached to the thing that we are now, that is gone out of our life. And so we have this sense of loss, and that's where really the difficulty comes in. And then we have the next phase, which is much more an in-between. So you've got the closing of the chapter, but you still got one foot still in there, and then you've got another foot, the big toe is kind of testing the waters and having a little bit of a feel around for what this new situation means. And so there's a lot of realignment and repatterning that is going on and taking place within us. And the sense we get then is we feel unstable. If you imagine you've got 2 feet in two different places, sometimes you feel that they're getting further and further apart, and it's like you've got to make the jump up. Are you going this way, or are you going backwards, back into your comfort zone? Which not necessarily in a transition is a good place to be. Then you've got the arrival. You've actually got in, both feet are on the other side. You're starting this new beginning, and you're developing this new identity. You're experiencing a new energy, and you're discovering this new sense of purpose, because now that change is really beginning to take place and get grounded, and it's becoming you. So yeah, those are what I think is important to express just at the beginning. We can move on to why transitions are difficult, but maybe first, Shireen, if there's something you want to add to that.
Not really, but I really love how you've separated those in a very easy way for people to understand, and I love the idea that that we're also transitioning all the time. So from a biological perspective, as a person, we see children growing all the time, but we have these stages which we landmark as different periods where they can do certain things or they can't. Mm-hmm. And so there's something about, you kind of said the transition is that cognitive thing, that aspect of where they make meaning of it. And it's so interesting that we often think of transitions just as a moment, and then there's something else, but we don't think that we can always be in transition all of the time. And so part of my thing is thinking about how much we are always in transition, and how much do we notice where the change started to happen. So that's something, because even if you're starting to get irritated with a partner and you're starting to come down off that period of time, the honeymoon period, you're already in the transition, because things are already starting to happen. And I love it when we kind of get back to the point, where did it really start? It's often we feel the pain at a certain level, but actually the pain often starts way before, if that's a case of, say, in a relationship, for example. And what it triggered for me, which I loved what you said early on, but what triggered for me was when one of the biggest learnings or memories that I have in my science at school when I was 12 years old was we were always told what is sublimation. And what sublimation is the transformation from a solid to a gas without an intermediate liquid stage. And I was going, okay, so what would that mean in human terms? So in human terms, it may be that we go through one thing and we move in that quick transition without really knowing that we've shifted and changed, and that's who we are. And then there's those other phases where we have these transitions which we notice. We actually notice those transitions. Because I know that when I've done a lot of behaviors before, when I've changed something, and it's kind of like a few months later, I go, oh, I'm responding totally different to what I would have done. But there, transition had been happening all along. But I had come to the point of noticing. So that was something that really stuck for me. And I loved how you brought that out so clearly for people to understand. Yeah.
Thanks.
I love how Rachel put it basically very, very simple regarding the transition and going into the next chapter of life, and basically letting go and accepting the basically this new chapter. Like for me, basically it was the transition when we came out of lockdown in the UK, and everyone kept talking about the normality. We're going back to the normality. So I was like, I kept asking myself, like, what kind of normality now are we transitions to? Because like if you go on the news, you still hear that people are basically they are positive, and the pandemic, the numbers are going up and stuff. I was like, what normality? There was basically like questions in my head, but I had to let go of the attachment of this lockdown, and basically coming to terms with this new normality that we were basically going through it. And it took a long time basically for me to get used to people seeing people around. It took a long basically a very long time. Like if I see an event, I'll be like getting excited and registering. I think I've been to 3 or 2 live events now. It's like it's like getting used to seeing people chatting and having fun. Although some people, they're still very um, cautious about what is about basically wearing masks and stuff. But it was like Shireen is saying, when a honeymoon period and stuff, you go to this transition. My sister-in-law got married. I know, but just before she got married, she was really excited, setting the wedding, arranging the wedding during lockdown and stuff. And then when she got married, I was like, what's changed? So tell me, excitement. She was like, nothing has changed, still the same. I was like, oh, I thought you'd be excited about your husband. And you guys, she was like, no, nothing really has changed. Life is goes on as normal. Uh, did they go to their honeymoon? No, they didn't, because of lockdown. They just didn't want to go to any other countries. I think they still gonna go. But she was like, nothing has changed. And my sister-in-law got married soon after lockdown as well. There was a few people that went to the wedding, and I asked her if anything has changed, but her opinion was different. That she was excited that she has my surname. I was like, that's very exciting. And I think it is basically you have to let go. Sometimes people may struggle to let go of the past, to let go of the known and stepping into the unknown. But sometimes you just have to basically anticipate with the change and adapt quickly, and also enjoy the change, because if the changes are presented in your life, that means there's something exciting in that life. It could be there could be some sadness through it, but if you adapt it quickly and things, there might be some excitement and basically moving into a new direction as well. It must be some excitement moving to that direction. Like right now we are moving to a direction where we are excited. Basically, the heat is heat, and I was like, "Is killing the germs of the coronavirus? Let it kill it." So we are basically things are changing. It's like for me in my life as well. I always have things changing in my life. I have to adapt very quickly. And I was talking to who was I talking to a few days ago? Yeah, I was talking to one of the people that I know, and I said to them, was this generation, your generation, really life adapting really some changes very quickly? I was like, I can't put up with this generation. Things are changing all the time. Like Sharon, you were telling me about Facebook. now I have to adapt to the new Facebook thing that has been presented, and I have to learn it very, very quickly and see how I can use it to my own benefits, to benefits from it, or move to another channel. So those are the changes that some people might be willing to adapt to it, and some people might not have time. I think in the world, people don't like complication; they like simple. Like myself, I like simple. LinkedIn is very simple. I go and broadcast on LinkedIn and share my content, and that's it. So, do you have anything, Rachel, you would like to add? Maybe the difference between changes and letting go and old identity, letting go of the ways of the old identity.
Yeah, I mean, I think that going through any life transition, on the bigger scale, the things that affect us the most, what I've learned from the transitions that I've gone, and I think that when you get transitions that happen, they're separate ones, but they kind of happened near and on top of each other, then they become, more difficult to handle. And I think what I've learned through my own journey then is that first and foremost, you've got to give yourself time. We are a culture of being impatient, and it's all. I think that's why a lot of transitions come in, because it's teaching us to slow and to become more patient. It's one of the things that I have really, truly had to learn for myself, is to be patient whilst going through transition. The second one is really to develop a proactive mindset. You can't control what happens to you in life, but you can control how you're going to respond to it. And I think also creating a network of people that that you can turn to for support, and to identify which people can help you in which area, because not everybody is suitable to help you with whatever you're needing from them, or seeking. And I think also to embrace the growth as an opportunity. So see it as a moment that it's going to be able to teach you. And that is the upside of painful transition, is that it will become that path for you to be able to grow and to deepen your wisdom, because you're going to turn that knowledge that you start to acquire and embed it. And that's when knowledge becomes wisdom. And it's going to be able, and you'll be able to do that through taking time to reflect. And you also start to build then new skills. You start to make this transition more of a success rather than a hindrance or something to fight against. And this, what I do with, working with my clients, is that I'm helping them to become more resourceful within themselves, because they have everything that they need to be more adaptable, to be more a person who more can relate, not only better with themselves, but then better with other people. And I think I always reassure myself through any transition is, this too shall pass. Nothing in life is forever. Because just think about it, every time it rains, there's going to come a moment where it stops. When the sunset goes down, that there's going to be a sunrise. That if you're going through good times, just make sure you enjoy them, because there's going to come times when they're not so good, because good times don't last. And to keep reminding yourself, I don't need to worry so much, because again, this will pass. And so I think that that's really an important message for people. Life isn't always easy, but you can always laugh still. Just because something is annoying you or somebody is annoying you, you can still find a smile if you want to choose for that. Every moment is giving us a new beginning and a new ending to an experience. And so, yeah, life is continuously giving us all a second chance. And that second chance keeps coming around and around and around, because every experience is a new beginning and a new ending. So, yeah.
Yeah. I really love what you said there, giving that structure, which is so important. The stillness, being still, sitting there in that place, and how hard it can be when you're so busy and you have all these things. Particularly, I think women, I know men struggle, but women particularly find it very difficult because they're pulled so much in so many directions.
Yeah.
And those are often false beliefs that we have to be pulled in that way. And so, yes, that stillness. And that, what was really interesting, and I love that you said that about wisdom is really about the knowledge and the understanding embodied. Once we have it there, we can use it to look and create for our future. And that's what wisdom is. Wisdom saying, okay, that happened in the past. It may not happen in the future, but we can create something different. So wisdom is about that, the opportunity to create. And I what really got me was the idea of knowing who to choose. Your friends are not your therapists. So important.
Yeah.
And so really make sure that you know how to separate those two. Otherwise, you might just have a bit of struggle with your friends, right? So find a way that you can actually really set those boundaries appropriately, that your friends stay your friends, and they don't get a little bit tired of you being your therapist and listening to you all of the time. So that may be something that's really useful. And I think what you said and alluded to earlier on, which we talk about, is when we feel our identity and we know who we are, that offers a lot of safety and comfort, doesn't it? And it gives us that ability to hold those emotions. It gives us the ability to know, hey, I know how to do this. It gives us that moment of really trusting ourselves that, yes, your moment of this too shall pass. Yes, it will. And that congruent yes, that it will. And so that's that those points were really, and I always think about crisis always being something which is in Chinese things, the other part of crisis is death and opportunity. So they smash those two words together, and maybe that's where the paradox is, that we can't get new unless we change old. We can't create unless we decreate to start. And we are always decreating. Every cell in our body changes. We may not recognize or know it, but our body, our cells die and live every day. So we are always in transition, whether we like it or not. So yeah, kind of go for the ride. Wave, be on the crest and surf. Become a damn fine surfer, because that's really what we need to do. Go down the dips and up again and really crest that wave and enjoy it. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I agree with you guys, ladies, and Rachel, you mentioned that basically we can't control, we don't have control when it comes to life. There are things that we can control, but there are things that we can't, but we can choose how we respond to life, which is, it's a big thing that sometimes when we have problems, sometimes we focus on that problem, whatever is happening, instead of choosing how we're going to respond and how we're going to move forward. And Shireen as well, you basically mentioned the identity that basically once you know and feel your identity, is easy for us to actually create the things and decreate things if you want to move forward. And also you girls mentioned the friendship, that we can choose the people that we want to connect with, and in order for us to create the things that we want to do. For me, basically what I've realized when it comes to life, that not everyone that comes to your life we are meant to date, we are meant to basically hang out with them. There are some people that come into our lives and the season, they come for a reason and they go. And sometimes I've seen friends, like sometimes they'll have their own friends, and then when those friends decide to move to a different city and or maybe move abroad, they get angry and they get upset about it. So instead of basically accepting the transition, because if somebody goes abroad, it means I can still visit them, have a nice holiday without thinking about the expenses, or they can, instead of basically thinking about where I'm gonna live, they can actually find me a hotel that is affordable, and then I can just make things for me to go and spend time with them. So we don't think about how we can respond in a positive way. Sometimes we think, oh, why things are like this. But in reality, basically, we don't have control. For me, basically, I've realized that everybody that enters my life, they have a purpose, basically to teach me something, or they have an assignment to help me with something, or there might be a weakness within me. They are here to teach me, to help me with my strength, or basically sometimes if there's a transition that is going on in my life, you'll find that sometimes if I'm struggling, somebody enters my life and they help me, and then they're gone. They're like, it's like you have to accept those transitions. And when it comes to networking, like we have our businesses and friends, you can't just hang out with everybody. We can love. I know the Bible says that we basically have to love unconditional and accept people in our lives, but there are people that you can't just hang out and go and hang out with everybody. I have friends that I've met that they were really, really nice. And I find that when I go, like right now, I'm into personal development. I have my business, I'm growing my business. But when I go for coffee with them, we have nothing in common to talk about. So then when they say, no, sir, let's go out, I just have to say no. I'm busy, or tell them that I can't make it, because I know that we don't have anything in common anymore. Because when we meet, it's like it's a race. Life is a race. It's like me. I like to ask questions. I like people that I can learn from, not where I can feel that I'm competing with them. Because I know that life is not a race. Life is all about basically learning from other people and growth and transition. Like Sharina was saying, that there's so much transitions that goes on, so you just have to adapt quickly with everything. So I'm a person, basically I don't have time where I'm with somebody they make me feel that I'm competing with them. It's like at Ngozi talk shows here, we have different speakers from all walks of life, and when I'm with each speaker, learning from that speaker, and you'll find that I will have a conversation. Like Sharina, you were very frustrated this morning with the Facebook, and I didn't realize that there's been some changes on Facebook. So we're finding a solution on how to solve this problem with Facebook. So I like that people that can support me and I support them, or basically if somebody comes into my life and I just know that there's an assignment that they're here for, and I just have to adapt with that, and as long as I'm learning from them and they're learning from me, I'm good to go. So I think it's very, very important. And also women, my daughter was asking yesterday, was it yesterday or before yesterday, asking her dad, why is there any women working within the company? And her dad was telling her that the job is really, really hard where he works. So he doesn't think that there will be any woman can manage to lift and work. I was like, I'm sure there is. If they ever tried actually to employ a woman, so I was like, I'm sure there will be a woman that would be willing to do the building work. Yeah, so I was like, I'm sure there will be a woman. They're all in the office. So of course they're there, but in the office. So I was like, I'm sure there is. So I think I agree with you guys and say basically, and sometimes people struggle, like Sharina was saying, that false beliefs, and also basically the time where sometimes it's like we are at Ngozi talk shows. I was at Ngozi talk shows. I think we were broadcasting for 1 year, and then after 1 year I couldn't broadcast on YouTube. So I kept pressing and kept pressing. The videos were not going live until Restream. We went on Restream. I was like, let me email Restream what's going on. So, and then I've learned something that when you broadcast on YouTube, you have to go to actually YouTube, is it Stream Manager on YouTube, and then clear things out and delete some things. And I didn't know all these things. So I'm like, this is complicated. But it was a simple problem that took me a week to actually to solve it. So we are always learning, and there's always a transition when it comes to life. Like Rachel, you were saying, we have to be patient sometimes when we go through changes in life. But sometimes the human beings, we want things done now. It has to be done now, or else we get frustrated. For me, I've learned to be patient. And when things go wrong, basically, I'm like, I'm going to sit on the sofa and think about what I'm going to do next. So that's what I did. And do you have any comment, Rachel?
I think, the emotional response to a life transition, and the first one, it will be fear that most people struggle with, and that's that they'll go into either the flee, the fight, or the freeze reaction to what's going on. And most people listening will know what their response is, because it will actually have stemmed right from childhood. It's what we learn to do and to survive, and we perfect that as we get older, not necessarily for the right reasons. So somebody who's going to fight the transition, they want to fight that struggle and that discomfort, and they want to just blame others for what's going on, so that they can discharge that emotional fear that is building up in them. They've got to get it out, because it feels uncomfortable. Then you've got the people who will basically, flight. They will flee the situation because they just want to avoid. Like, please don't bring this situation to me. I'll do anything. So they'll distract themselves. They will, I know that I've been in this position where you will turn to things that will give you immediate, relief and make you feel better for the moment. So, and that is really just numbing our feelings to the situation. And we can do that through food, alcohol, drugs, binging on Netflix, whatever your preference is. But we do it because we just want to hide away in the hope that, well, this will soon pass, right? And then you've got the freeze reaction, which, those people will tend to feel tired. They will feel exhausted. They just feel like watching Netflix all day and just doing nothing. And they just, it can paralyze you. And you just get stuck in that continuous pattern of thinking that is going to just keep reinforcing the message to just stay paralyzed. And that's when, people who say, I just feel stuck. I don't know what to do. I don't know which direction to go in. And they just have this hopeless outlook on life. And the question then becomes really is, well, how do you respond to your fear and that stress response, so that you can actually move through your life transition with more ease, and actually come out the other side a better version of who you were going into that transition. And for me, that, as with anything in life, to be honest, it's the power of choice. You have to choose to want to face whatever challenges in front of you. Are you going to face it with the choice of, well, this is just an inconvenient and it's an obstacle that I really just don't want to have? Or are you going to face it as, hey, this is a moment for me to be able to learn something about myself, and actually sort of upgrade myself. And so when it comes to that power of choice, that is going to be key for anybody listening who is going through any transition right now in their life, is to stop and ask yourself, what choice have I made till now? And then always know that you can change your choice. You have the power to do that at any time. You can get into the stream, the flow of life at any point along that riverbank, and you can go with what life's bringing you, or you can fight it. It's up to you. So yeah, Shireen.
Yeah, there's so many beautiful gems in there, which I absolutely love. So what I started thinking about, and which was really odd because I was thinking all about what you were saying, but I suppose the thing that I wanted to start with was the idea of that choice point. And, having explained about the fear, sometimes I think when people are so in that space, they really need a guiding hand to help them slowly get enough confidence or resilience to be able to even make a really good choice, really be able to listen to themselves so that they can make the choice that's right for them, not their mother, not their father, not their mother, not anything else, but they make the choice that is congruent and true for them. And I always think about, nature provided us with a perfect thing, because in the fear response, we all actually have a moment of freeze. So between the stimulus and the response, there is a space, as Victor Hugo says. But that space is where the synapse actually is overloaded. So we can't do anything. We have that startle effect. And then what happens is there's that space and there's that quietness. And I believe that's kind of like our God state. That's the state where we really have power to choose. And in that moment, we can look, we can go, hey, I want to do this. That may be a bit hard now, but I'm going to choose this because it's not insurmountable in whatever way that it's going to be. But I also then started to think about what drives us to that choice. And I was thinking about how culturally we've moved so far away from transition points. We've kind of moved away from celebrations of when we were, like that first day at school, that real celebration, and then the celebration of menarche, and then the celebration of being a mum, and the celebration of menopause. It's kind of like each of them in the young parts are celebrated, and then we kind of, when we go through these big transitions, they often are because we haven't celebrated enough who we are and becoming, and knowing that we feel this movement all the time. So we get to learn internally that there's always change. And so when we come into the big transitions, we come in with the knowing that, as you were saying, this too shall pass. We come in with that real knowing and that real awareness and a deeper sense of wisdom. So yeah, that was kind of resonating as you were talking for me, and really looking at how might we start to create for ourselves these kinds of rituals, even on a daily basis, that are basis for transitions. What might we do slightly different every day, even if it's not, we're not intending to change yet, but even those little moments of thinking about things changing changes the brain. And so you're automatically, in a way, becoming mentally prepared and resilient to what's going on. So yeah, this is such a beautiful topic. I'm so glad you brought it up. It's such a nice topic because it's so rich in what we can do to really help shift someone's consciousness into celebrating transitions and really wanting to go into them and slow them down. Not be so caught up with I need to get out of this, but rather, wow, this is the moment that I can till the soil. This is the moment that I can plant things. This is the moment I can do all those things and wait and see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, really, I've got goosebumps with that.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful topic. Such a beautiful.
Yeah, it is because Rachel, I know you spoke about the power of choice through transition. We do have a choice, but some people they can lose control. Like, and Shirini, you talk about the rituals. For me, basically, when I'm going through transition, there's a time where I have to pray and stand still. And when I stand still, I just basically, before I ask my friends, if there is a big transition, before I ask anybody else, I have to pray about it. And I have to go into a silence place, maybe for 1 week, if it's a big transition. So I know that I'm making the right decision. And when I'm doing that, there's a trust. I have to trust and which is a big thing when you trust the unknown and when you are stepping into the unknown and basically not knowing what's behind the curtains and that transition can cause fear, but for me I try not to fear because with God I basically have to surrender everything to him, and I have to know that everything is going to be fine. It's going to work out fine, regardless of what step am I taking and the choices that I make at that moment. I have to, even if I'm scared, I have to trust. I really have to trust. And Shireen, you spoke about you have to make sure that when you are making a choice, the choices that we make in life, you have to be congruent with whatever our beliefs and also we have to look at the things that drives us basically to make those choices as well. For me, basically everyone is different. That's what I've learned in life, that every person that I meet, they're not gonna be like me, they're different. So when I'm making choices, I have to make sure that it's like I went to when I was looking for a home, and I was asking because everybody works. My children go to school, so I'm trying. Can you guys write down what you want in the house so I know what I'm looking for? And then they're not writing things down. I'm going to look for a house. I'm coming back and I'm telling them that this is the house that I've seen. It's got this, that. Like, no. So I'm like, can you guys write it down then? In the end, do you know what I did? For 1 week, I had to stand still. I had to say, okay, guys, I'm gonna stand still for 1 week. When you guys are ready to tell me what you want, this because it's a big thing. Getting a house is a big thing. I was like, you guys need to let me know when you guys are ready. And my youngest one, she's the one who is 7. She's the one that came back and said, I want this, I want a house with this and with this. And the older ones, they were difficult because they were like, we have to think about it. So I was like, but you know what you want, basically. It's like when you are looking for something or when you go to school, children, basically younger ones, they can't. But when you are like, let's say, doing your A levels, secondary school, it might be still difficult. But when you're doing A level, it's a big transition. You must have some sort of idea of who you want to become, because if you don't know who you want to become when you are in that transition, that means there's a big problem. So that's how I see life, that uh, you have to know like our identities. We look at it when we look at our identities. Like yesterday, I was in this business event, and the guy was saying, if you are doing something that you love, and then somebody presents you with the idea that it has nothing to do with what you do, you don't have to go for it. If you go for something that is out of your line, where it means it's taking away from what you're doing, so you have to ask questions why you're taking it and stuff, because it might be moving you away from your business. Or unless if you are somebody that is ready to leave the business running without you. So I can understand. I was like, actually, I've seen this with some people that I've met business events, that they do something and then the next thing on Facebook I see them doing something else, and I'm like, I'm confused. So sometimes it's nice to stand still, and even if things are not working, because some people, like, they start a business, if things are not working that moment, they don't want to wait. It's like they're like, this is not working. But things takes time. Like Rachel, you were saying that the transition, it might take time. I saw it with my business. When I was building business, it took me a year to actually get to the grip of what was going on in the business, but I would have actually given up. But I didn't. I was very passionate about it, going to business event, and sometimes getting people like exchanging business cards if I get home, and basically see this person, actually they could help me. I just make a call and ask some questions. They'll be giving me ideas and stuff. It was a big transition. But sometimes being patient, sometimes it can be difficult, and also celebrating that transition as well. Some people can find it very difficult as well, but we have to, because if you don't celebrate the change in your life, who is going to celebrate you? No one. That means you'll be frustrated and wanting more and more and more. So we have to celebrate. um, and we have to celebrate our friends. I have people that, like, coaches here. It's nice to see you guys transition to something like big, because when we started and now when you see people are doing different things and you're like, wow, I saw your business being a baby, now is growing. So sometimes it's nice to celebrate. I agree with you, Rachel, that we have to learn to celebrate our transition, and we have to understand that things takes time as well. And also you mentioned before that develop a support network as well that can support us, and also the mindset, a proactive mindset, developing a proactive mindset also is very important, because if you don't basically have a supporting network, it can be very difficult when you are transitioning to other things. So we need to make sure that we have a very supportive network. And what else can we add? Do you have anything to add, Rachel?
Yeah. Just as a side note, when you talked about, people knowing what they want, in my experience, most people know what they don't want. It's actually more difficult for them to figure out what it is that they do want. It's a good starting point. But when we say, you know what you want, I usually get, well, I know that I don't want it, and then they'll just start reading off everything that they don't want. So that's just as a side note. But yeah, the quality of our lives really do truly depend on the quality of our choices. And we have to accept that life was going to throw stuff at us that feels unfair, that things are done to us that feel not nice, that people treat us in unkind ways, and things can take us by surprise, that completely didn't see something coming. And there are just some things that we just can never change. They are just what they are. But what I learned myself is, Rachel, you need to stop being mad and angry or sad, because that isn't going to help the situation. It's just going to keep you sitting in a really not a nice feeling with yourself. And so it's a question of being willing, as you said right in the beginning, I think, and also about letting go, and then saying to yourself, I'm going to choose another way forward. And so on my own journey, I always like to explain, the steps that I took, or I still do, because as we said, they're always continuous. They just come in varying degrees of pain. One is self-compassion. Really truly allow yourself to feel all your emotions and don't judge yourself. Stop criticizing yourself. Feelings, emotions, they're there to actually help, not to hinder us. Again, it comes down to a perspective, the way you choose to want to to view things in life. The second one is to actually have the courage to share those feelings, how you truly feel with another person. And sometimes that isn't with a family member, that isn't with your best friend. It is with a professional, whether that be a therapist, a coach, whoever. But somebody who is not actually part of your circle can be in these situations more helpful, because they're not emotionally involved with the situation. But you see, a lot of people think that by sharing their true feelings, they're almost like they feel ashamed. They feel embarrassed, or they get afraid that, well, what is someone going to think of me? And I can tell you, shame loves it when you don't share your feelings.
Love silence.
It will just keep you, it likes to keep you in the dark, where sharing is when you shed the light on something, and then it starts to be able to be healed. And then we've talked about it. My other most important point is that slowing down. It's finding ways to keep yourself calm whilst the storm around you is happening. The last thing you want to be doing is sat in your own fear. It's very uncomfortable. I'd rather be in an uncomfortable situation that I know that I'm progressing forwards, that is it's uncomfortable because it's new, not because it's familiar. So that's that. And in that process, which is really important to slow down, is because that's when you're going to be able to ask the right questions to yourself. You're going to be able to say, what is it that I'm learning here? What part of me needs to grow to actually help me move and overcome this life transition? And also to start to think about what's the blessing on the other side of this that you're going to get, because that gives you an inspiration to want to keep moving forward on that path. And so, it's finding whatever keeps you calm. For some people, that's exercise. For some, it's meditation. It's going out and engaging with friends. It's humor. Sit down and watch a really funny movie. Lighten yourself up a bit. Listen to music. Talk to your coach, your therapist, whoever. And connect. Go out in nature and connect and do a visualization. See yourself already where you want to be, where you are wanting to move towards. That's then directing yourself in your new direction. It's giving you motivation to want to keep moving to, forwards and towards this new version of yourself that's going to start to emerge. And then it's taking the action. once you've got that kind of clear in your mind, it's actually taking then the action towards that growth. And it's one step at a time. You don't have to do massive, great big leapfrogs, just one step in front of the other is always a step towards growth, and it's a step away from fear and from feeling stuck. And you're reinforcing the fact that you're choosing to grow. And lastly, also what you were touching on, Nomsa, is, don't look back. Don't doubt yourself. Don't think like, oh, well, things don't seem to be coming as quickly as I would like it to. I'm fed up with being uncomfortable. No, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and just keep persevering. And slowly things will start to change in your external experience, and a sense of certainty will start to settle in and to ground you, because you'll start to see on the horizon things that are looking now familiar to you, because you've worked and you've been thinking about it, you've been directing yourself. And so what's been up here and in your imagination and in your heart, the two are being linked, and now you're seeing it out there far on the horizon. And so the sun begins to shine again. So those are my little tips.
Shireen?
Wow, all of that. All of that really succinct and beautiful. I suppose what I really want to speak into is the shame that people tend to kind of go into when they can't see where they need to be, and to really understand that you're not alone. And actually, as you said, that just sharing but sharing wisely, right? So it's not about going and sharing your story to everybody without having done some healing, because there's something about what it is that you need to do. But the one thing that sharing does is it allows us to normalize. It allows us to look at it and say, well, most of us would experience that too. So therefore, you're not alone. And so there's something about that, you know, misery likes company, but so does hope. And so it's really about being aware of both of those things at the same time. And it's about, you know, how do we choose to share? How do we choose to be wise in our sharing? And I suppose what I really think about is where we keep talking about the slowing down. Actually, when we slow down, we can start to hear that inner voice. We get the opportunity, because most of the time when we're moving around, we've got those other naggy voices that are always around. So when we slow down, we often can hear, and I believe we hear the voice of God. We believe, because we are the personification of God. And the only way we can know that something's not happening or not healthy is because it lives inside us. And so when we get something that makes us feel bad, it's really just calling us home. It's calling us home and saying, I want to tell you something. I want you to listen. I want to tell you what you can do. And the crazy thing is, the closer you go back home, the more energy you get.
Yes.
And, you know, the one thing that we really don't realize is that, you know, that energy in bursting an atomic bomb goes a massive way. Hey? So actually, we've got a huge amount of energy just by going in and freeing that will give us a huge amount of energy in our body and a huge amount of spark in our life. So, yeah, I just wanted to speak into those 2 points, because I think those are so very important in helping people move forward. Because, yeah, we don't move forward because often we're ashamed. Yeah, it's one of the key things. And we don't want to tell someone because we don't want them to think. And I know how many of my clients come and they'll say something, but I'm so glad when they do, and I celebrate them, because I just say, my God, you know, God, I've had those thoughts too. And they just go, oh, you're not going to moan at me. You're not going to think I'm bad. It's really so useful to kind of recognize it's nice to have someone that champions you and supports you. And, you know, if you talk about your family, let me tell you, she's going to support you 100% no matter what. And I think that's important. But she'll support you in a way that you will be able to see things in a bigger light. You'll see your part in the deal. You'll see how your responses created this, and how can you change that response to create something else. So those are the things that really, when we quiet, we go inside, we transition, and we work the soil. Yeah, that's when transition becomes trans-information. The information changes. And so we now listen to a new order of being.
Yeah, I think it is very important. I agree with you, ladies. It's very important when you're going through transition. Shireen, you said to slow down. It's very important, basically, to stop and slow down. And Rachel, you said to have self-compassion. I believe that no matter what, for me, basically, I always say, no matter what is going on in my life, I still have to love myself unconditional, because like you were saying before, that there's nothing that is permanent. No problems are permanent. The glory that we receive, the joy that we receive is not permanent. There's always going to some changes. So I always make sure that when I'm going through something, I look at the things that I'm grateful of. And Shirini, you mentioned God. For me, basically, God is everything. If I'm going through something, I just have to say, God, what do you want from me? I trust you. Show me what do you want to do in my life. Show me any hidden secret that will move me forward, or that will help me with this transition that is going on in my life. And then I have to slow down. And when I'm slowing down, some people, they believe in God, but they stop taking action. They will live in hope, in faith. For me, hope, faith it comes together, and believing and trusting 100% that everything is going to work out fine is very, very important as well. And sharing my feelings with the right people. I don't just share my feelings with anyone. I share my feelings with the right people as well. So if you are going through a transition, like what Rachel was saying, there must be somebody that is a champion, somebody that you trust, somebody that it could be a coach or it could be a family members. There are family members basically who are born basically to be champions. They are friends who are born to be champions. Everyone has those kind of people. So instead of hiding the feelings, if you don't feel too good, or if the transition is overwhelming, just share it with that person, and just let it watch it takes place. That's what I do. And when I'm going through something, I basically connect with God by fasting, by meditating in the Word of God, and by basically giving God what is written in the Bible. He says, "Ask." I claim everything that He says, and then I have to actually listen to His reply. And I always get the reply, either it comes from somebody else, or it comes as a voice, or sometimes it could be a dream, or it could be something that it could send an angel. Everyone is an angel. That's why it's very, very important when you are going through transition, stay focused, because every person that comes your way, they have a gift for you. So stay focused. Don't start talking yourself out and saying, I'm not enough, I'm not this. Stay focused. You are enough. You have a beautiful voice that you can lead. You can use that voice and lead from within. As Nkosi Talk Show says, when Shireen comes your way, don't judge Shireen because of what she's wearing. Stay focused. She might be there to help you. So that's what I do. I basically, everybody that comes my way, I make sure that I focus, and I make sure that I ask questions, and I find that the people that comes my way, there's a guy that I found on LinkedIn during lockdown. I didn't find him. He found me. He was like, Nomsa, you look like you're a nice person when I read, and I keep following you, reading your content, and reaching out to you, checking. You always reply to me. So I have something for you. And he gave me something, and there was another one. I was really, really desperate for something. And Bob Proctor, he was doing live. Bob Proctor, when he does live, he's live on their network. You have to pay for it. It's not cheap. It can even go up to £1,000. So, and somebody just on LinkedIn, I sent a happy birthday to somebody, and I was looking for this something, and and this person, I was like, I'm really, really grateful that basically you send me a message, happy birthday, and she was like, here's the link, Bob Proctor Live, come and join us. I was like, what? And I went there for free, and it was like a few days content just for free, something that I needed at that moment. So try to stay focused. Don't judge anybody that comes your way, and just celebrate yourself. Celebrate whatever transition that might go through. Just celebrate it, even if it's bad. We have to go through challenges, bad things in life in order for us to grow. So just celebrate you being you and breathing. Go for a walk. Celebrate you. Anyone has any comment before we leave, or you girls are done?
I think everything you just spoke about is truly the difference between loving ourselves, or and being inwardly focused, or being externally focused and living with the energy of fear running through you. So life transitions are there to help you to learn to love yourself on a much deeper level. And if you're struggling with that, then maybe it is the signal, it is the sign, it is the moment that, because you've become aware of, hey, I don't deal very well with myself through difficult transitions, that there is some healing that needs to be done. And maybe that's what the opportunity of this life transition is opening up for me, a chance to get really, truly connected to who I am and to actually feel more of who you are and allow that fullness of yourself to be expressed in ways that you haven't as of yet had the opportunity to do. So yeah, for me, life transitions, however much painful they are there to help you to love yourself deeper.
Thank you so much, everyone. And please, Nkosi Talk Shows family, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And if you want to follow Rachel on her Facebook, on Instagram, everything is on YouTube. Or any coaches, their links, they are on YouTube. Or if you really want to find out about their work and how they can help you lead from within and find your own voice, please get in touch with Shireen, get in touch with Rachel, their website is there, or you can get in touch through Nkosi Talk Shows. Either way, whatever is easy, and just do something about your life, and don't just when things are not working, learn to celebrate yourself. And these are the people that basically they've learned to do that the hard way, and I've learned to do it the hard way, to celebrate myself and love myself unconditionally as well. So we are here at Nkosi Talk Shows Monday to Friday UK time, 1 p.m. and 1 p.m. UK time. What did I say that for? Sorry guys. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. God bless and live with grace.
Bye.